Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the November 22nd, 2021 regular school board meeting. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Present.
Mr. Guido?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mrs. Stone?
Here.
Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They still didn't say properly.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
None. None.
Nope. Thank you. Item 1.4, approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Section 2, discussion and comments from the board. Item 2.1, legislative. Mr. Leeds.
Yes, I have a couple of items. I want to bring up House Bill 477 that will allow students to decline mandatory vaccinations and to prohibit a student from being expelled due to their COVID vaccination status, and the same as for employees. The other thing is, you cannot ask for status in extracurricular activities. They don't have to do that. The bill hasn't been approved yet, but they feel it will get approved by the governor. House Bill 458 was introduced by Thomas Hall from Madison Township to eliminate the August special election, except in the instances when the August special election is to nominate or elect candidates for the U.S. House of Representatives, and to allow a school district whose entire territory is located within the congressional district that is on the August ballot to be able to be put a levy on the August ballot. That supposedly is also in committee, and that will more than likely not pass, they think. So, and the other one is to, this is the substitute House Bill 99 that is introduced by Thomas Hall also. This is to eliminate the 700 hours of training for somebody to carry a gun in school. He wants to eliminate that to, I forget what it is, 50 hours or something, and then if the district wants them to have more training, fine. But they do not have to have the 700 hours to carry. And that's for any individual who wants to carry in school. So that's a biggie.
Well, I think the point of that one, Tom, was so that way the individual school district could set their own requirements.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. So that's going to get a lot of traction in the state. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Tom. Butler Tech.
Construction at the farm is going off as usual. Steel costs and some of the other inflation, as you know, caused some of that prices to go up a little bit, but it's still going fine. The infrastructure bill that was passed at the federal level here recently, one of the things that we have went to Washington, D.C. for every year is we have pushed for the DRIVE Act to be looked at and reauthorized, and they actually included that into this infrastructure legislation, so I was real happy with our efforts for that. We've got a nice letter from Rob Portman. The DRIVE Act deals with commercial driver's license, and it says that you have to be 21 years old to pass state lines. I mean, turn on any news channel right now and see what the shipping and trucking industry needs are. You know, our biggest thing that we have said for years is that an 18 or a 20-year-old can drive from Cincinnati all the way up to Akron or Canton, but they can't drive to Newport or Covington or anywhere over there. So the legislation allows for additional training, and so it's not just, you know, let them go. But with significant increase in training, it will allow truck drivers, CDL holders under 21 to deliver. So hopefully we can get some of that done before Christmas so we can all get our gifts. And then I did attend the OSBA legislative meeting with Tim in Columbus. I don't know if you're going to give an update on that, so I'll just leave that. So we did discuss some changes to the Constitution up there. Did not go well, so I'll just leave it at that. It was very contentious around again, a lot of the things that you're seeing on the news. So it was tabled and will be looked at next year. So my recommendation to whoever's going to go up there next year is the board really review that before the meeting. That's always been just standard language changes that has not caused any issues at all. But based on what the potential changes are to some of that language, a discussion with the board so the legislative representative would know how this board should vote. Yeah. That's it.
All right. Thank you. 2.3, finance.
We did not have a finance meeting this evening. Everything's going well, and Holly's going to give a further update with the 5-year forecast and more information.
Okay.
So.
And MEA. Anyone from MEA? Okay. All right, moving on to section 3. Looks like we have a special night for recognitions. Mr. Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I'm going to welcome Eric Silverman, our athletic director at this time. He is going to talk about a number of successes we had for our fall athletic seasons.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank the board for the opportunity to recognize 3 different sets of student athletes here. It was a great fall, and it's always an awesome opportunity for us to be able to recognize some of the successes of our student athletes, especially here at the board meeting. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. Our first student we'd like to recognize is Andrew Wilcox from our boys cross country team. Andrew, if you would come up here with me. I'm going to filling in tonight. Mr. Darrell, one of our assistant track coaches, or cross country coaches, was planning to be here, and at the last minute had some family stuff come up and couldn't be here, but he sent me his notes, and I'm going to share those a little bit with you about Andrew. So Andrew, who we've been watching since elementary and junior high, we knew when he got to high school he was going to have a phenomenal career, and only as a sophomore that's already starting to take shape. So Andrew had a great sophomore cross-country season while competing each week among the state's best competition. During the regular season, Andrew placed top 10 4 times in the races he raced. At the SWBL Championships, Andrew placed 3rd while receiving first-team All-League honors and for the 2nd consecutive year. Andrew went on to run at the district meet and finished 14th, which qualified him to the Division I regionals. And just to emphasize what a big deal that is, I mean, a couple years ago, we moved from Division II to Division I, and he's going up against the Masons and the Centervilles and a lot of the larger Division I schools, and so for him to put together the times that he did and then also then advance into the regionals to face those at the Division I level was an outstanding accomplishment. So he did that. He continues to progress and has made huge strides after the season. As a coaching staff, Seth shared that they're really excited to see where he's at in the next 2 years. For a sophomore to be able to compete at that high of a level in Division I in our district and in our region really says a lot about his dedication to the sport, his work ethic, and talent. And I will share this. So I took my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old to the district meet over at VOA to watch our cross-country team run, and they're watching, and our guys, Andrew included, comes by, and literally it's gotten colder. For the last 2 weeks, they insist on putting on their shorts, and they're running around the house in circles going, "I'm a runner, Daddy, I'm a runner." So they I think, may have a newfound love for cross-country thanks to watching Andrew and our fellow other cross-country athletes. So, Andrew, congratulations on a great, great season. Division I regional qualifier is nothing to take lightly, and we're really proud of you and looking forward to the next 2 years. So, congratulations. Yeah.
do a picture with each group,
Okay.
since we have 4, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do the presentations and then we can do pictures.
Okay, all right.
Just run back up here a
Yes.
little bit.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Andrew.
Our next athlete we'd like to recognize is Brooklyn Miltenberger. Brooklyn was named an Ohio Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association First Team All-Ohio recipient, and she was one of 18 recipients for Division II. And to talk a little bit more about her, I'm going to invite Coach Stacy Williams up. Congrats.
All right. So we were stopped, by the way. First off, I'd like to congratulate all of our student athletes in all the successes that we're going to really acknowledge tonight. Our school has an amazing amount of talent, talented athletes, and standing up here to celebrate these athletes is and all of their accomplishments is what coaching is all about. This is like our highlight and what we really love to do. Our girls soccer team this year had an amazing season. We ended the season with an overall record of 12-5-2, finishing second in the league and ranked 11th in the final state Division II poll. Our schedule this season was the toughest that we've ever faced, and our girls definitely accepted that challenge. One of our main reasons for our success this season is the young lady that is standing by my side tonight. Brooklyn Miltenberger plays her heart out on the field each and every day. She shines on the field, and she's the rock of our team. Brooklyn's hard work and effort this season absolutely paid off. This season, she earned first team SWBL East Honors. She was also recognized as our team's most defensive and most valuable player of the year. Most importantly, her teammates respect her on and off the field, both athletically and academically. Brooks received additional honors after our league selections. Deservingly, she made a name for herself throughout the area and the state. Brooke earned first team All-Miami Valley honors as well as first team All-District. Her most recent and prestigious honor includes first team All-State. I am beyond proud of Brooke's accomplishments on the field, and she is truly an athlete who would run through a brick wall for her teammates. I am excited to see her success and leadership on the field as she enters her senior year in 2022. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge that Brooke is already committed to playing soccer at the collegiate level after she finishes her soccer career at Monroe. After she gives our school one more outstanding year, she will move on to play soccer as a Xavier Musketeer. Congratulations, Brooke. We are beyond proud of you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brooke.
Thanks, Coach, and again, congratulations to Brooke. That's awesome. One of 18 girls, again, in Division II across the state of Ohio. So very, very proud of her. Next, we'd like to recognize our varsity football team, and we've got some guys that we'll invite up here, as well as our head coach, Bob Mullins, to talk about our football team. One thing I do want to bring up as well, these guys competed their hearts out every Friday night, and we're incredibly proud of everything they did out on the football field. But I think more impressively is, as a collective varsity team, our varsity football team had a 3.27 GPA for the first quarter. So they were getting it done on the field and in the classroom, which to have that collective GPA with about 80 guys is pretty awesome. So, Coach, you want to come on up and talk about the year? Guys, you want to come up?
I remember when I was here the night we hired him.
First, I'd like to just say congratulations to Andrew and Brooklyn. We have the privilege of sharing the field with the girls' soccer team, so we get to see how hard that they work, and she's definitely a very hard worker, so it's no surprise that she's had the success that she's had. And Andrew he works out running around the track sometimes when they're not doing the cross-country course, and getting to watch him run, it has been a pleasure as well, because our guys are like, how does he run that fast for so long? And so congratulations. It's definitely awesome to watch you out there working every day. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, so I'll keep it short. One thing that I do want to say is I'm going to quote Woody Hayes, because it's just a great week, to quote Woody Hayes, isn't it?
Yeah.
You win with people. And I'm looking around this room. Certainly, we have a great group of young men up here. It's part of one of the main reasons for our success. But I see people on our school board that work the chain gang, that work in the press box. Mr. Buskirk is at every game. Mr. Carpenter is at a lot of games. And Leslie, I know that you've been one of our #1 supporters over the years. So, man, I mean, you win with people, and isn't that just true of Monroe? Like, everybody just does something to be involved. And that's where our football program is right now, is we're just a bunch of collection of individuals that everybody does a little bit, and it has led to our success. One of the sayings that we use this year that we say often is we say EAT. E for effort, A for attitude, and T for toughness. And that's something that our program lives by. One of the media guys was asking me, well, what's the strength of your team? And I was like, man, that's a good question, because you kind of put me on the spot. I was like, you know what? The strength of our team is our toughness. You can win with toughness. You don't have to be the fastest, you don't have to be the biggest, and you don't have to be the best athlete. But if you are tougher than the other people that you're playing, you're going to beat them. And that's what I think I'm most proud of these guys, is they are tough and hard-nosed individuals that played every Friday night as hard as they possibly could. And that will serve them well in life, because they're going to graduate, they're going to move on, and as long as they're tough in life, they're going to find that success that everybody's looking for. So I'm proud of that. And I'll say one more thing, is our seniors never have been a part of a winning team until this year. So they leave winners. They've always been winners, but this year, winners for sure. With the record, they deserve it. I'm proud of them, and thank you guys.
We'll get a picture after I think Mr. Silverman's here. We'll have everyone come back up. We'll get pictures, because I know that's what you guys are waiting for, right?
You want the picture?
And again, I want to congratulate our football guys. They played a gauntlet schedule to get a share of the SWBL. It's not an easy task, and I believe our first league championship, or part of one since '09. And not only that, to get the second seed in the Division III state playoffs, I think is remarkable. That is a tremendous accomplishment that shouldn't go unnoticed either, because it really, to Coach's comment, shows their toughness and their determination throughout the year, and just really, really proud of how they represented our school and community every Friday night, and in the classroom Monday through Friday as well. So, guys, congratulations to that. And yeah. And last but not least, I want to recognize Coach Mullins. Coach, in his third year here, one thing I know about him is he talks about all the other guys, and he wouldn't say this, so I'm going to say it. One thing, and I've had the privilege of listening to him call in to WMOH game night and that on the radio after Friday night games, and he's always talking about the guys and the team and everybody else, and it's always a collective effort. Well, I want to recognize him because he was recognized, and he won't say that, but he was recognized as the SWBL East Division Coach of the Year, and he was also recognized as the Cincinnati Enquirer, Cincinnati.com Division III Coach of the Year for Southwest Ohio. And I think that when you look around and the tremendous amount of success that Division III teams have had in this area, to win those honors in your league is special, but to be recognized across the entire area is even something I think that's even more special. It's a broader group, and so, Coach, that's completely well-deserved, and we thank you for all that you've done for the young men. So, great. Thanks. Picture time?
Yes, we'll get some pictures. We'll start with Andrew.
All right. All right.
Great. Sir.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we didn't get one with...
Oh, just you.
Just Coach Mullins, yeah. We gotta get one.
yeah.
Look, he just went back to the back wall. He was like,
Good pickup, girl.
he was like, I'm gonna skedaddle.
I'm gonna go on this side.
I think we did.
Anybody else? Take my tip. I'd like a picture. Can we get a picture together? We gotta get a picture of all of us together.
I'm gonna be here. I won't be here. No, I'll be here.
Thank you, everyone, for attending that portion of it. You guys are good to go.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Don't laugh. It's my sit there, so.
All right, moving on to Section 4, Communications. Seeing no comments from the public, we will move on to Section 5, Presentations. Becky Nickel.
You always know she's here before she's
Yes.
here.
Exactly.
Well, now that the party's over, we'll get into something a little bit more
Exciting.
exciting, right? Those standards that we have to get in
That's
there.
right.
So, first of all, I'd like to thank the board for being patient. This was supposed to be done back in September, but with some family issues and things like that, so I appreciate your patience with that. So the school nutrition standards. School meals are healthy meals that are required to meet the dietary guidelines for Americans. To receive our federal reimbursements, school meal programs must offer reimbursable meals that meet strict federal nutrition standards. These standards are also referred to as the meal patterns. Require schools to offer students the right balance of fruits, vegetables, low-fat, fat-free milk, whole grains, and lean protein with every meal. As we've discussed in prior standard presentations, the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010 requires the U.S. Department of Agriculture to update these nutrition standards for the first time in 15 years. The new regulations, effective beginning in 2012, required cafeterias to offer more fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and limit sodium, calories, and unhealthy fat in every school meal. These improvements are expected to enhance the diet and health of school children and help reduce the child obesity trend. Now, meal patterns, in summary, required schools to improve lunches by offering fruits and vegetables as two separate meal components. We offer whole grains, meat alternative. We offer the milk, fat-free or low-fat. Students are required to select a fruit and or vegetable as part of that reimbursable meal. In other words, the 3 out of 5 components, but one must be a fruit or vegetable to be a reimbursable meal. That's real important of that reimbursable meal. These are the standards for your National School Lunch Program and breakfast programs. However, we have been running under the SSO, which is the Summer Seamless Option Program, since COVID has begun. When the USDA ruled all meals free, we have run under the Summer Seamless Option, which also gives us more money per meal, but the standards for those meals still remain in place. Our trend in meal counts have been increasing daily, and the supply chains have been struggling to fulfill all those orders. The School Nutritional Association praises the USDA for new waivers addressing supply chain challenges, which is one of the new things going on since COVID has begun and all meals are free. The U.S. Department of Agriculture for its quick response to the SNA member concerns regarding continued supply chain disruptions for school meal programs nationwide. The USDA has issued a new waiver to prevent school meal programs struggling to procure foods and supplies from being financially penalized if shortages prevent them from meeting certain federal regulatory requirements for school meals. This is one thing that we have not had an issue. We have had things that have been substituted, but we have never been without anything. We are one of the few schools that are still offering 3 choices at our elementary and primary and still are 8 different choices at the junior, senior high level. Once again, they might not be their normal chicken nuggets, they might not be their normal chicken patties, but it is a chicken product. So we have not had to really go without something, but that we are offering, it's just a substitution of there. My person at our Gordon Food Service, she has been very good at making sure that we get everything that we need, once again, whether it's been a substitution of something, but it is what it is. Every Friday evening I get a list of things that are possibly out of stock, been manually subbed and so on and so forth, but the kids are not getting nothing that has not already been. Like I said, there's only one thing, and as If something doesn't come, we will replace it with something else. So once again, it might not be their normal this, but it will be something like that. The latest things, there are some things that we have gotten that I'm not real happy with, but it is still something that we can serve to the kids and so on and so forth. And it's just hopefully a temporary situation that we will eventually, with suppliers and vendors and people getting back to work and everything like that, that it's no fault of ours, no fault of Gordon's, no fault, it just goes down the chain that way. This waiver is a huge relief for school nutrition professionals who are working so hard to serve our students healthy meals in the face of the unprecedented challenges. We have spent the last several months scrambling to secure foods and supplies for our students' meals and reworking our menus when our orders have been substituted for something else or possibly out of stock. So, any questions?
Just can you deny the liver if they try and give you liver?
I'm sorry?
Don't let them give you liver as a replacement?
I'm really good with liver, so I think I could hide it in something and they'll never know.
I actually like chicken liver.
Yes, I do a mean chicken liver dinner myself, so. Yeah.
I'd like to see the kids react, hey, we're gonna have chicken livers.
Chicken
That's
livers,
awesome.
yeah.
Great,
So,
sure.
it's not a part that we've gotten, but, who's to say, but other than that. So.
You've done a great job. This has been a difficult year and a half, so.
It's been very challenging, my staff has done exceptionally well keeping up with the volume because we have gone from, we probably tripled our volume because all meals are free. I can't seem to put enough food on it. We start out and we just keep projecting, and then all I do is just continue to get on more food just to make sure that those kids are fed and so on and so forth. Which means that sometimes the order I have coming in tomorrow morning could be we'd be dipping into it earlier than what expected. So sometimes we're chasing that wheel, but we're getting it there and like that. So and it's helped that we've opened up some of the self-serve again. We have done that to kind of do that. The kids they're resilient. They get there, and my staff is relieved about that as well. So plus they get more of their choices back than versus putting it on here, well, I don't want this, and we take it off there. So they're back to getting what they actually, the offer versus serve. So, so that's a step in our direction of getting back to some kind of normal too. So, great.
Well, let your staff know we greatly appreciate it.
Certainly will. Thank you very much. So,
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the cookies, too.
Thank you for the cookies.
Yeah, there are not too many areas I would call myself an expert in, but when it comes to food and eating, I would consider myself an expert. And I just want to thank Becky and her staff. She has done a really tremendous job, like you said, over the last year and a half, 2 years. If you walk in that cafeteria every day, you would never notice there's any issues. They really do a good job, so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Section 6, Treasurer's Business.
Okay.
Item 6.1, approval of the minutes.
Okay. I'm asking the board to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on October 25th, 2021.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions?
Nope.
Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Abstain. I was absent.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Yeah. And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.2.
Okay, next I'm offering or providing the financial report for October 31st, 2021.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. All right.
Okay, I'd like to report as of October 31st that the general fund balance was $33,247,554, and the ending month balance for all funds was $41,272,725. And as you see, comparing the monthly budget to actual for October 31st, we're pretty much where we should be this time of year. The year is 35% complete, and salaries and fringes are under 35%, and we're quite a bit lower in purchase services, supplies, capital, and the other areas. So Then also, I'm offering the quick reference report, which we compare where we are today compared to, actually now it's the 5-year forecast, because what we like to do is look at where we will be by the end of the year. And typically I do it based on the appropriations in the budget, but since we're doing the forecast here in November, where we should be is actually 0. And what we're, I look at actual expenses up to now, and I project the rest of the month to month until June 30th, and that's where we, try to project where we will be. And if there's a problem, we want to start taking care of it now. And what the hope is that we'll be better than what we're projecting. And so now, when you look at the quick reference report, it's 0 because we were thinking we're going to be on June 30th where we report on the 5-year forecast. So everything is pretty much where it should be at this time of year. And as I'll say with the forecast also, we're promised additional revenue from the state, but we still, as it being November, we're not supposed to hear until December. That's what they say now, but they could even push that off. I don't know. But they gave us numbers in July, and those are the numbers we're using for this year and for next year. And hopefully they're conservative, and hopefully what they'll come through is more than what we're projecting. So what they're trying to do is, as I mentioned before, past meetings, is that they're trying to get us off the cap. But we're really not going to be off the cap yet, but we're only going to be 2 years into 6-year plan of being off the cap. And they could stop it in year 2. And we don't want them to do that. And we'll continue to work with our legislators. And there's a Christmas party, I think it's December 9th, Butler County GOP. So I'll send that out. So anytime we can get with our legislators and keep being, develop relationships with them, because they do want to know us and they do care about us. And we want to nurture that and so show them how thankful we are. But I will be happy to get those final numbers in. I will say that, because we're going to forecast. I mean, we're making major decisions based on those numbers. There's even other schools, and I'm thankful we're not one of them, but they're thinking of, they're trying to plan levies in the spring, and they still don't have those actual numbers. So I think we're in a better situation since we're not expecting a levy in the spring. So, but anyway, that's my financial report for October 31st.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Holly, have they discussed any potential changes with the Build Back Better plan, the other bill that they're trying to pass? Will that impact our?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
Have you heard?
Not really, other than, they're talking about daycare and preschool,
things like that.
So I don't know if that.
None of that's coming through our associations. None of, so it could be concerning. I mean,
But most of our state grants that we've got from COVID and everything, those are pretty much done with, right?
No, we still have several still going. The first one is done, the first CARES, but we have two ESSER ones. One,
but they're not expecting to keep funding those,
oh, that's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
No, it's
you still have money in.
Yeah, one is going to go through 23 and one is going to go through 24. So, and one was 1.8 million and one was 800,000. And in addition, they're giving us more money through our CCAP as well for special ed. So that's supplementing us, but it's just for a time.
But we're not expecting around 4.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, it's been good to have all that money, but they're not going to keep funding it.
That's correct. And we're very conscious of what we're paying out and that we need to put it on if we're going to continue, we need to show it on the forecast in 24, 25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.3.
Next, I'm asking the board to approve the bond fund report.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
I wanted to report that we received $212,370 through our TIF and RID payment, which comes in October, and the current bond, there were no payments out, so the current bond fund balance is $4,247,398. So October 31st.
Mr. Guido?
Everything where it's, well, we have to motion first. Oh, we already did. Everything where it's supposed to be?
Yes, it is. I'm getting up myself.
I don't know.
One more chance to get it right.
You're not off.
Are you where you need to be?
You're not off the board yet.
I was looking at
doesn't feel
that, I was looking at the balance
We're
and
gonna give you a
going,
medical
wow, that's
excuse."
getting close. So I was excited about that.
No doubt.
Sorry.
Should I call, did you call that? Oh, wait, did you?
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Tom and me.
All right.
All right.
Ms. Gale, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 6.4.
I'm asking board to approve the 5-year forecast for November 2021.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Okay, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Can you make it smaller? Or, here, go up to the top where there's revenue. The top is revenue under 2022. I don't know if anybody can see that, but can you get it bigger? Okay, I do want to point out that our property taxes revenue did go up and is expected to stay up unless we get tax complaints, but we're not expecting those. Other communities have had those, but, and, you know, property values went up, and that meant the school did receive more money. And this has been pretty significant. It started in 2021, and then it's going to complete in 22, 23. I'm not expecting a great deal. I don't project much once it's set, because a lot of growth will not come through this.
Hey, Holly.
Can we make
hold
it a
on.
little smaller?
Can we make it smaller just so we can see the lines on the
Yeah.
left side?
Thanks. We need to be able to see
Okay.
the categories, like,
Yes,
so people
yes,
know what we're
okay.
looking at, if that's possible.
You can make it, you can,
Yeah,
make
because
it
I mean, I have it on my
negative.
computer
Yeah.
here too. So.
Sorry, okay, here we go.
Everybody.
But for everybody
There.
else.
I know.
Okay. This is property taxes, and this is 2022. These are actual numbers. We're 19, 20, 21. So these are not projections. These are projections here. So property taxes, that's been a significant change. The values went up about 15% in our community, mostly residential. They also went up in those TIF RIDs, which do also pay taxes through the city. It comes through the city to Monroe. So that has helped us a great deal in real estate. And then also, I'm projecting the increase, that $8.7 million from the state, and it's supposed to go to $9.8 million. But after this year, I did kept it flat, because that's what you do with state funding. You keep it flat. We were surprised during the pandemic, because they did reduce state funding, and I've never seen that happen in 20 years. But then they said, we're going to cut your funding. So they did, but that's not often the case. See, they're 7.9 to 7.8 there. But, so these are numbers that were projected, given to us in the summer, and I haven't seen evidence of those yet, but we should see those in December. So that's tax money, that's local tax money, and down here is a lot of local tax money. So we are about 70% supported by our local community, and that's what we want to change with state funding. We're wanting the state to come in and actually give us the portion that we are due based on this funding formula. We're an unusual community, so we are still capped. Even though we're starting to get some, get a little bit off the cap, I do consider us still a capped district. So, and then down below, under expenses here, these are projected expenses. This is our budget for the general fund. It's salaries, benefits, purchase services, supplies, and capital outlay, and that's where we're going to measure. I put together salaries and benefits based on payroll and information I have, but we do work with the team to come up with supplies, purchase services and supplies. We work with all our leadership to try to figure out what our budget may be and needs are for this year. And so that is based on budget. Some of this area, and some of it is supplemented right now by ESSER, but not a great deal. So, and we're conscious of what we do pay out of ESSER, that it's going to have to come back into our budget in future years, 24 and 25, which is off this thing. So there's a couple more little things, attachments I have. Trent, any questions?
Yes. I got a couple. I'm gonna put my glasses back on.
Oh, yeah, I meant to.
Okay, so one question was on 1.02, the tangible personal property taxes.
Yeah.
Didn't that kind of like start going down a lot? We hardly had any, and now it's increasing again?
Well, it's just increasing a little bit. It's our, yes, it's.
What's in there that makes it up? Because it seemed like that it used to be deteriorating. We weren't really trying to count on that, but now the number, it's growing. Is that?
It's public utility, personal property, and it's our pipelines,
Okay.
Duke and Rocky Express. Out of, like, a lot of it comes from Warren County. So it's just those that are the biggies. And it's kind of, I mean, it really, I guess they didn't increase their value because I haven't seen any evidence of it. It is what it is. But
that's not the category that was phasing out, because for a while we kept saying, like, remember, it's going to be phasing out. We can't count on this.
yeah, that was another category.
Okay, which one is that?
That was in, it was in tangible personal property. Oh, it was, and the cat tax was supposed to take over. That was another tax, businesses, inventory tax. And it was coming in there, and it's not on, it's been so long now.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not like imagining that.
Yeah,
That
you're
was
right.
like disappearing, because we kept saying, like, hey, that's going to be gone. Don't really count on that category.
Yeah.
Now it looks, I mean, it's a significant number.
Well, what's nice is we got these pipelines, and a lot of communities don't, and they relied heavily on that cat tax, or not,
Okay.
on the inventory tax that businesses paid for their inventory. So they did away with that, and they came up with the cat tax, and the state was funding us based on that. And we got like 200,000, and then it was going to 85,000, and they phased that out for schools. And we were supposed to make up for it through local taxes. But that's a good point, you're right.
I was just asking about it. And then the other thing, like Tom and I, we just want to make sure it's pointed out in public meeting, is 6.01, if we like look further out.
So
So
go
we need to
down.
make it smaller to kind of show the 5 years out.
Go up. Okay, it's 6.01.
Where you start seeing the,
It's right
can we,
here.
yeah, can we start
Yes.
going to the right and?
So this is our revenue exceeded our expenses here. This is 6.01, and we were taught after emergency, and the whole emergency commission drilled this into our brains.
Yeah.
That now we're projecting that our expenses will exceed our revenue by a small amount this year. And that's what we want to push that off. We want to do better. We want to get more revenue, have less expenses, and this be a positive number because it keeps adding to our balance. And then, as you can see, this is called deficit spending. And that's what we don't want to do. So, but you just have to go with the numbers you have right now. And then, this is almost ridiculous way out here. So much can happen. It's just, you can't project it. You just do the best guess you can. But here, it's, you need to take action as you keep going, and then you start seeing your expenses are exceeding your revenue as you go through the year, and take action.
But Holly, those negative numbers that we have there, that's including the additional monies that we are to get
Yeah.
Yes.
when we're
Yes.
supposedly uncapped.
Yes.
But going further out,
Yes.
we don't know if we'll get those monies or not.
We don't know if we'll get them after this year.
Correct.
I mean, right.
So from the 2.5 on, we don't know, that's where you stop projecting the additional funds from
Correct.
being capped.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you look at that, right now, we should be looking at a possible operating levy in 4.
Well, let's see, I put something down at the very bottom. And I just threw a number in. Like down here, once it gets here, you're not going to, actually probably, this here, you don't want to get to this.
What is that?
you will have to start thinking of a levy. And right now, we're so heavily supported by taxes, and you only get those twice a year. So then you can't make payroll by the end of the time you get you can't let that go that much lower. That's all.
No.
Here, I've never been in a school like that. Most schools, you get so much in the state funding, it kind of keeps you going. I mean, you still have negative, but you don't have to do cash flow borrowing, but since we only get 2 major payments, one in the spring, or one in the fall, one in the spring, you have to make it to those, whereas state is every month, and you don't have to, So you got to be conscious of that in this school district, unless the state comes through for us.
So what's the takeaway right now, if you're looking at 6.01 and you see the red kind of going out? Because, we have people now that watch the meetings and they're learning and all of those good things. What would your advice be, or what's your kind of takeaway for people to understand? It's a projection.
Yes.
If we spend exactly what we're doing now, that was how we would.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's good to be mindful of that. We need to very much keep that on everybody's radar.
Yes.
Right.
And if we see this, if we see something's actually starting to happen, then we may need to, and we really are mostly salaries and benefits. We are people in this. I have another thing that shows that on here. Can you pull that
But
up?
Holly, before we move on to that, you've always underestimated our revenue and overestimated our expenses, right?
Yes, I have. Sometimes you're surprised, that somebody, like, 700,000 didn't come in from Warren County 2020 spring. And I go, where's this pipeline money? And they said, oh, they just paid late. So it was coming, but that was a shock. But it has dropped. There's been times it's dropped, and,
So it's fair to say, even though it says that we're going to be on $230,000 in deficit spending, by the time you get to the fiscal year end,
Yeah.
that number probably is not going to be.
Right.
As bad.
We expect it, unless we get really surprised.
Correct.
And then that's why we'll catch it. I mean.
So this is just for the reporting purposes of the state. It's not.
It's not,
We're about halfway through.
yeah, it's not actual what's going to happen
We
in
want
3
to
years from
live
now.
like it's going to happen and try to, it
Right.
kind of keeps you humble. I mean, it's real. It's not really off. I mean, it's, it's
But when
not-
you start talking about a levy, like we've just talked to your guys, that's concerning, because we've never had a discussion about that. Even though the numbers are saying this,
Yeah.
you are saying that
Yeah.
throughout the year, you're going to adjust spending and watch what that number does to get that as close to zero as you can get,
Right.
as you've done in the past.
Right. And, like, for example, up at the top where revenue is, let's see, keep going. Okay, this number, there's TIF RID money in there, and I know some of those values have gone up and they should be paying more. We don't get the full amount of tax revenue, but we get quite a bit from the city based on those payments. And that's my houses in Monroe Crossings, but I don't know those values. They're hidden from me. I know this, so I'm not really estimating increase, but I think that's too low. I mean, it's 3.8 million in that, the rest of the TIF RID. So there's some things that are not easy to project. So it's best just to go with what you.
Conservative.
I would think with the natural gas shortage that they're looking at, that your Rockies Express pipeline will be running full bore and would generate more taxation, more tax money this year than they've ever had.
Mm-hmm. There's another pipeline that we could be getting tax money on. And remember, we had discussion about this several years ago, but it's carrying a different
Commodity.
liquid than what Rocky's carrying. And why should the taxes be based on the liquid? That's another fight. And Warren County's, or it goes through Warren County too. I don't want to look at you, but I've been talking to Springboro a lot too. We're going to get back on that fight too. So.
And the other thing that it proves is we can't stop what we've done right now with the legislators, with us being capped.
Exactly.
Because
We
that
can't
just
stop.
proves that that's only out for 2 years. So
Exactly.
we got to continue the fight and get uncapped
Yes, we want them
and get the
to
6
keep
million that we're
seeing.
supposed to have.
Yes, yeah, they're on our team for a change. I mean,
Yeah.
so we need to keep going with that.
get what we're owed. That's all we're after. We need to keep their feet on the neck of the legislators and say, hey, you know, come through.
Yep.
We're not asking for any more than what's due us.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you continue that fight, and those red numbers almost go away. If
Yeah.
Each year, we
Yeah.
get back to what the on-cap would be, so pretty
We-
close.
I showed you, I
Yeah,
think I showed
yeah.
you, that our millage is high. It's really like, we're ranked 60 of all 600 schools. When you look at the other schools, their millage is less. They have not been capped, some have, but when you're that capped, you just go back to your community. And it- so,
Okay, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. Any other questions? All right, Mrs. Kale, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.5,
I'm asking the board to approve the health and wellness grant from Butler Health Plan in the amount of $4,780.
may I have a motion?
So moved?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. Any questions?
Is there a general plan for this, or is it kind of similar stuff each year, or
Well,
something new?
Nancy Stratton heads this up, and
Okay.
it's like providing incentives for people to lose weight and
Different, like friendly competition
things-
incentives
yeah,
and that kind of stuff?
competitions and that kind of thing. And then if we have any left over, then they let us pay for disinfecting things.
Pizza party afterwards?
Sorry, you took my line, that was mine.
It was. That
I
line
said it
goes
under
for
my
us.
breath, I didn't want to say it out loud. I was like,
Taco Tuesday.
oh, we're bad,
I like
we're
that.
sorry.
Food drinks will follow, right?
Any other questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone? Aye. Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. And item 6.6,
Every year, the Neediest Kids of All program gives us $500 to help our children here. So I'm asking approval for those funds.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you for the donation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.7,
And again, every year, the state gives us a subsidy for interconnectivity for $7,200.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved, hurry up and get that in the bank.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any other questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye, motion carried. Item 6.8,
Okay, next, I'm asking the board to approve carryover funds from 2021 to 2022 grants. And also the revised budget for the new grants, to spend that money this year.
may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions?
Yeah, hang on a second here, my computer just gave up. The one for the special ed, $607,000. What was that last year?
I have to look, I mean, it was 500 and something last year, but now that we're going to carry over, what are we, 61,000, it's around 500,000 every year, and
Okay.
then we'll carry that over, and we pay for psychology and all kinds of special ed services out of that. And,
Okay.
But this is all grant money, this is not money from, right,
No,
the
fine.
general
Right.
fund. I mean, so if it carries over, we're not,
Right, this is annual, every year, CCIP grant money that we get.
it's not use it or lose it. I mean, they let you carry over.
Right, the only one over time, we could lose Title I, and that's because it's very restrictive, the grades that you spend it for, and it's only for just certain grades. but after 3 years, you may lose it, so we need to get on it.
Is Title I, I can't remember if we do or we used to, does that fund any of the staffing for like it
Is that
is
what?
allowed to?
Fund any of the staffing.
Oh, a reading, no, let's see, is that, it has, it has, I know, like 1 or 2 teachers.
Okay, because I know we did, or we used to, and then we did, or we don't now.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was a change in the way we did it.
No, we did, I mean, we did used to, 6B, the one that's so much, we used to pay for parapros, and now we're paying for more purchase services, because, just, you know, I don't know, it's easier.
When we
for me.
approve like students that have to have services elsewhere, and we like,
Yes.
individuals, are
Yes.
those funds what help pay for this as well?
Yes,
Okay.
the 607, that's, we pay for Union Day and
Okay, yeah.
social communications, and, yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Cahill.
Thank you.
Section 7, Superintendent's update.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. I don't have a whole lot tonight. I just want to congratulate again the fall athletes that were here. It was a really enjoyable fall season for everybody. All athletics did a great job, and proud of our kids. And I think Eric shared earlier with grade point average of the football team. I know across all of our athletic teams, they really are high achievers, and it's great to get kids involved, because when they're involved, they feel part of that group, and overall achievement definitely goes up. So I do want to talk real briefly about the report card. Jody Long will give a more detailed report in December, but they did come out with some report card data earlier this month. As I don't know if you've been able to see it, but with everything that went on the last 2 years, they didn't do any testing 2020, and then last year it was some limited testing due to the number of kids, and I think they did a really good job of getting almost everybody in to test. But there was a drop in scores. Across the state of Ohio, it was anywhere from a 10 to 15% drop in the overall achievement scores, and Monroe is kind of consistent in that area. It was about an 11% drop, and we're not going to explain the data away and say, oh, we're going to still look at it, and I know Jody will give a more detailed explanation of that, but we did just want to share. It is out there, and it is available if you want to look on the Ohio Department of Education website. Even this year's report card is very limited with the amount of data that they have, because nothing carried over from the previous year. But one positive thing, our graduation rate actually went up a little bit, which was, always positive. We're in the mid-90s consistently, and it actually went up a little bit. So we're happy with that. And the last thing that I wanted to add, with Mrs. Cahill going over the 5-year forecast and the finances. This district talks a lot about being a capped district, and that's, again, I forget which one of you said it, we got to keep the fight and continue with that, because if we can get our full state funding, that'll be a tremendous help to the local taxpayers here in Monroe. But I just want to point out that there's another story that we need to continue to share with our public, is that this school district went from a really tough financial situation. They have not asked the community for any new money since 2013. And if you look at her 5-year forecast, and I know we don't like to see anything red, but you guys have done a phenomenal job as a district, as administrators and leaders of building up that cash balance so that you can sustain and not have to go back to the taxpayers. So you'll be going on almost 10 years since asking for new money, where across the state it is, it's usually you say, we want new money that'll sustain us for 5 years moving forward. And you guys are going on 10, and in the near future there's no need for asking for new money from the public. And that's just a tremendous story to share with your community, and it's something I think this administration and this board should really be proud of, because it shows that you are still providing a phenomenal education for these kids, but you're still being fiscally responsible. And so I think that's another huge piece of the picture that we need to continue to share with our public, that this board and this school district has done a great job. So, being new, it's something that I've looked at, and I've gone back through the years and looked at our levy histories and all that as I'm becoming familiar with it, and it's really a remarkable story, and it's something that this district and this board should be really proud of. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Thank you.
One of the things that I was going to bring up in legislation that I didn't, but since Robert did, the state is looking for a superintendent to be on the committee for report cards. And they're looking for a superintendent that has been for urban, suburban, and rural schools. There you go.
There you go.
I'll let you know if I find it.
Yeah.
Just sign him up.
Yeah, just sign them up.
Okay, got it.
All right, any other questions on Section 7? All right, moving on to Section 8, Superintendent Personnel Business. 8.1.
8.1 is resignations. We did have one resignation, one of our building subs, alternate subs.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.2.
It is a hiring of a part-time counselor. It was just, I believe, as an oversight earlier, so she has been with us. This is just to formally approve her. We approved the addition of the position, I think that was back when Kathy was even here, maybe. And, but she has been with us, so it's just catching up.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item, no, I did not. Did we give her a pin?
I don't know if we got a pin.
We'll have to,
No, I don't think so.
all right, we'll have to
Well,
give her
then
a
she
pin.
doesn't get a pin. You have to be present.
Sorry,
Just
Dave.
like game day. You have
All
to,
right.
must be
Item
present to win.
8.3.
Hiring, it's recommended the board hire the following new employees. We have some subs and lunch
Yay,
wanderers.
some more subs.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.4.
It's recommended the board approve the following extracurricular contracts, and we have a number of, if you notice there, you'll like this, Mr. Leeds, most of their salaries is a zero. We have a lot of volunteer coaches, great people helping out with the community and the sports.
Good.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. Any questions?
Even though they're volunteer, I'm so sorry.
No,
I was
go
like,
ahead.
I mean, somebody asked me once, I mean, we do background checks, everything is
Oh, yeah.
like, just for
They have to
everybody
get
to
a
know, even
people
though they're not
activity permit
paid.
and do all that.
They don't
Yes.
just,
No.
they don't just show up.
Someone that had to do that, I had to go through all the certifications, the 8 hours of classes. Yes. $300 had to pay.
It actually costs them money to volunteer.
Yes.
I mean, I believe I know that part, but
yeah.
I just like, we do that, that's
Yes.
always anybody new, no one's
Yep.
lost in the system,
Nope.
right?
Even as the president of the school board, I had to go through the background check.
Yeah, I
I
did
did
a
too,
background
dude, I had
check
to do it for Girls on
too.
the Run, man.
Yep.
To do the chains.
Yeah, right, yeah. Did they find anything?
We'll talk later.
They found that you weren't.
I've got a
on safety
file.
patrol.
You can do the change, just no safety patrol.
Yes. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Never gonna.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.5.
It's recommended the board approve the indoor track and field season beginning November 29th, 2021, concluding March 6th, 2022, and approve volunteers to act as indoor track and field coaches per OHSAA and OAT and CCC indoor requirements.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Kayal, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.6.
It's recommended the board approve the following athletic event workers.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. Any questions? Mrs. Kayal, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. And item 8.7.
It's recommended the board approve Stacy Williams as the wellness coordinator and be paid a supplemental of $478. And that does come out, she coordinates all those funds in the grant that we talked about earlier.
Yep. Yeah, the pizza party grant?
Yes. The wellness coordinator is going to be mad at us. if we
I
keep
know.
talking about the pizza
I got
party.
one more
If we
one.
start referring to that as the pizza party grant, we might be in trouble.
Stacy's our friend, she'll forgive us.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Guido?
Well, hold on, there is healthy pizza options.
Yeah, that's true.
Cauliflower and crust?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
but if that's my
Aye.
cheat meal, why not?
Thank
just
you
have
for-
full pizza, yeah.
Aye.
We can have salads, it's all good, there's no judgment. It'll be fine. It's a hot mess, I know.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Okay. Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 8.8.
Per the master agreement from June 2016, it's recommended the board approve the following stipends for fulfilling the mentor role for the Monroe Local School Resident Educator Program for the 2021-22 school year. It's spelled out there, the different levels. There is, the resident educator is actually a 4-year program. There is not much work to be done during year 4, but this is just a lot of work, so these mentors, they earn their stipend.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions? Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Section 9, Superintendent's Other Business, item 9.1.
We had a donation from the Patty J. Scholl Foundation, and it is a banner and for the classes of the Monroe High School. It is at our central office. We're looking for a spot to put, hang it, and they also, if any of the classes wanted to use it for their reunions or whatever, it's a nice big banner with, the Hornet on it, and so.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. Thank you, Mr. Guido. Any questions?
You can use it, Brad.
Oh,
You can use it.
You
Thank
and
you.
Tom, right? You're the only grandpa?
Yeah. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.2.
We are recommending a contract with the Butler County ESC for a virtual intervention specialist to help with the online kids in VLA.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? I see this is paid for by ESSER funds.
Correct.
Okay. Mrs. Cahill, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.3.
It's recommended the board approve the resolution of intent to participate in the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission Expedited Local Partnership Program.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Guido.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Any questions?
I was going to say, what this is this is just the first step. You know, our goal down the road is to add a building in the district, and all this is doing is it's that first step saying the board wishes to participate in the OFCC program. If it is approved, which I don't see any reason why it would not be approved, our plan is to use our PI fund, which has a nice balance in it as well. It would not be out of the general fund to make some capital improvements over the next 2 years, and then that will lock our rate in for when our number comes up to build a new building for the district. And then we'd lock the rate in at a 71% state-funded building, which is a huge percentage. I believe the last time that you thought your number was going to come up and you were getting ready to go to the taxpayers with a bond issue to build the new building, it was in the high 40s, I think 48, 49%. 49% state-funded. So that is I would never say that it was good that the number was pulled and we were delayed, but over the years since it was pulled, the state funding percentage has increased a lot. And to be honest, I've never seen or heard a 71% state-funded share, so that's great. So if we can get that rate locked in whenever our number comes up, because they evaluate it every 6 months or every year? Every year they reevaluate it and they base it on local values, so it can fluctuate, and it has continued to rise, but it's starting to kind of flatline. So we'd rather get it locked in now before it starts going the other way. So
that's a really big deal, because at the end of our process with the community and everything, I mean, one of the things that we determined is that we were going to be able to build a building, but actually by the time we occupied it, it was basically going to be full, just because of how much of a building we as a district were able to afford to build and all that. But, you know, an additional 30% state funding will allow us hopefully to build a building that makes more sense size-wise, that we can grow into a little bit easier.
Yes.
And certainly make it more affordable. So this is, when we talked about this last week,
Absolutely.
and what a huge benefit to our community.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.4.
It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution to establish educational requirements for substitute teachers for the 21-22 school year. This is just a recommendation from House Bill 1, I believe, where it changed the requirements for substitute teachers. You no longer need the bachelor's degree. It can be a high school diploma. And they recommended that we pass a resolution saying that we will allow substitute teachers with that degree.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. Any questions? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.5.
It's recommended the board approve the presented 22-23 school year calendar.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. Any questions about the calendar?
I just did want to show you, normally this is done earlier than this. I believe that Mrs. Demers did not want to lock anybody into anything before she left, so we did this. I actually will probably come early next year with a 23-24 calendar proposal as well. There's nothing really unusual about this calendar, similar start date. The only, Christmas falls on a strain, it's on the weekend, so it kind of makes it hard to get, it's a little different, but it's close, it's like 1 day short of 2 weeks. I know everybody loves that 2 weeks at Christmas, so it follows most of the calendars of the other school districts in the area, so.
Anything else? Mrs. Cahall, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Item 9.6.
This is just no action needed, but it's the first reading of the Neola updated policy revisions. I invite any of you to come to our policy revision meetings with Neola. They're very, very exciting. There's nothing in those that's unusual. It's
They're
just,
late night reading.
it's mostly, actually, I think all of it's updated Ohio Revised Code, just to have our policies changed to reflect the new laws, so.
It's great reading.
Yeah, we don't attend the meetings because we
Unbelievable.
like to read it at
It's
home.
great reading if you can't go to sleep.
But you know what, in looking at the changes, seriously, in looking at the changes that they made, somebody doesn't have nothing to do.
I would agree with you, Mr. Leeds.
Oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Job security, somebody's needs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
You weren't supposed to catch it. You were the one person that actually read it. You caught him.
Hey, Vita, you don't read them?
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
We glance, we skim read.
Item 9.7,
9.7.
calendar of upcoming events. You want-
Calendar of upcoming events.
Just
There we
is
go.
what
That
it
that
is,
is
yep.
what it
There
is.
it is, yes, Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thanksgiving is upcoming, and if you can believe it, we get back and there's only
Saturday?
3 weeks. Saturday's Ohio State, Michigan, Leslie, yes, thank you.
Upcoming event.
Sunday is
Sure everybody
Bengals
knows.
Steelers, it's a big weekend for lots of fun
And we
things.
say the team up.
But when we get back, we have 3 weeks of school until winter
Wow.
break, and the first semester is over, which is, to me, is a little hard to believe. It's going really
Yeah.
fast. so.
Flying. All right. Before we move to section 10, comments from the board. We'll start down on the end with Mr. Leeds.
Again, I want to congratulate the student athletes that were here and with Eric and Coach Mullins on their accomplishments. That's super. It shows a lot for our coaches and for our school and for our students, especially when they have such a high GPA in the classroom. And again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I want to congratulate the two newly elected members of the board, AJ and Debbie, with them coming on board in January. So we should have a very active board and a good board. And these two guys here that are leaving, done a hell of a job, both of them. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Guido?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to the athletes. That's an accomplishment. And being on the sidelines for as many years as we've been, I mean, there was a remarkable difference this year as compared to what, just the competitiveness of what they were doing out there. So I remember seeing Coach Mullins after his first season and said, just please stick this out. Those kids need some consistency and somebody that they can count on, because for a while we had just a lot of turnover in there. So I'm excited to see what they do all around. I didn't get to stay for the whole performance, but I did go to the play that was out. I was in theater, so it's always exciting to see what they do. Yeah. But congratulations to them. They did a great job as well. What's the last thing I was going to say? Well, congratulations to Debbie and AJ as well. And I enjoyed our work session that we had, so I thought we had, you had said kind of an interesting thing. I said, well, have you ever been to a meeting like that? And he said, well, I've never actually served on a board that has been willing to do that. So I think that says a lot for the type of board and community that we're in.
Yep. I would agree.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Mrs. Stone?
Pretty much everything they already said. I was going to say congratulations to AJ and Debbie. It was great to have a work session with you guys. I know this is just going to be seamless. You guys are just going to pick up right where we left off. And I know Brett's going to still be part of Butler Tech, and I'm going to be at the ESC. So I feel like we got a pretty good team going, and we'll get that lady to the State House yet. That's what I say. If anybody has nothing to do Saturday at noon, we all know there's an event you can tune into. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of the time of that. I'm just really thankful to be a part of Monroe and our community and Thanksgiving. And I know we can't have our community dinner this year, which is a bummer. We've had to postpone it. But yeah, but I also am just thankful. I just want to also say that I'm really thankful our fire chief is doing so well and is home and recovering. And we just have I think the community really pulls together. And I just am really thankful for them, that especially since they sponsored that event, that made me think of them. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yeah, I mean, not much to say. Again, welcome, Debbie and AJ. I look forward to working with you guys. And we recognize some of our student athletes. We had a number of student athletes that also made like first and second team, SWBL and everything. And we had like one heck of a fall season, which makes me really excited for winter sports coming up, for baseball and softball to start up again. Like I love me some sports, guys. So I'm just pumped up. I'm ready to go. So I'm glad we got to start off with a great football season, terrific soccer season. So just keep it rolling. Let's go win some SWBL and some basketball too.
Yes.
Yeah, both girls started last week. Boys are next week. Where's Eric? Yep, Wednesday. Okay, with us Wednesday, and wrestling.
Is that away? Just making sure.
He got nervous there for a minute.
He threw me for a curve on Saturday. I got to announce tomorrow, so I just got to make sure. I still have not put the calendar in my phone yet, so I got to get that in. All right. Real quick, again, congratulations to all of our fall sports. I will echo what Brett said, just announcing football for the last 13 years. The last few years before Coach Mullins got here, was during my son's tenure playing. It was kind of bland, to say the least, and to see the excitement on that field and on that sidelines again this year was you could feel it up in the press box, and you can tell when the season's going well because the guys working in the press box get a little animated on what's going down on the field and if the calls are correct and all that stuff. So there was a lot of animation up in the press box, so it was a good season. Congratulations to Debbie and AJ. Looking forward to working with you guys. So congratulations again. I thought the work session was very well. There is a game Saturday, but then there is a game on Sunday.
Yeah, that doesn't matter for you.
Who's playing Sunday?
I know, no one that matters. Just kidding. You're going to miss this razzing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully my team does a little bit better this Sunday. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you and your families. I still can't believe that this year is almost over. It has absolutely flown by. So again, happy Thanksgiving to every one of you. That's it for me. So with that being said, we'll move on to section 10. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Please.
I'm not doing it. I'm used to it.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
See if we can hold out.
One more meeting, buddy.
Yep. Mr. Kayal, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Guido?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And Mr. Grant?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have yourself a great evening and a great rest of the week.